The history of India is filled with countless stories of bravery and valor. But among these stories, there are some names that have not been buried in the dust of time, but still echo today. One of these names is Emperor Prithviraj Chauhan. Making Ajmer and Delhi his capitals, this young emperor established such a strong hold on Indian politics that the mere mention of his name made his enemies tremble. Prithviraj was not only a master of the sword and spear, but was also proficient in knowledge and learning. He knew several languages, understood mathematics and philosophy, and his greatest skill was shooting sound-guided arrows. Meaning, without looking, he could hit the target just by hearing the sound. The stories of his valor were so famous that princesses of neighboring states were also captivated by his name. But history is not just a saga of bravery, it also involves politics, rivalry, and betrayal. Prithviraj's story had all of this too. On one hand, he had an enmity with King Jaichand of Kanauj, whose love story with his daughter Sanyogita is still immortal in folklore. On the other hand, a new threat was rising from the west in the form of Muhammad Ghori, who did not just want to plunder, but wanted to rule India permanently. In the year 1191, when the armies of Prithviraj Chauhan and Muhammad Ghori came face to face on the battlefield of Tarain, history took a turn. In this war, Prithviraj defeated Ghori with his strategy and strength. It is said that Prithviraj Chauhan defeated Muhammad Ghori 16 to 17 times and forgave him, and let him live every time. But this very generosity of his proved to be fatal for him and for India in the future. Let's find out the complete story of Emperor Prithviraj Chauhan, whose bravery still echoes in the soil of India. The roots of the Chauhan dynasty were connected to Sambhar and Amer near Jaipur. King Ajay Raj of this dynasty laid the foundation of Ajmer city, which later became the center of power for the Chauhan dynasty. The Chauhan dynasty was established in the 6th century by Vasudev Chauhan. Later in the 11th century, a brave king named Someshwar Chauhan was born in this dynasty. Someshwar fought many wars in his lifetime and expanded his empire. It is believed that when the Rathore army attacked King Anangpal Tomar of Delhi, King Someshwar Chauhan of Ajmer supported King Anangpal Tomar. With his help, Anangpal Tomar won this war, after which a deep friendship developed between the two. This friendship later turned into a family relationship when King Anangpal married his daughter Karpuri Devi to Someshwar Chauhan. Anangpal Tomar's second daughter, Rupsundari, was married to King Vijaypal of Kanauj, who later had a son named Jai Chand. In 1166, a boy was also born to Someshwar Chauhan and Karpuri Devi. The birth of that child was considered an auspicious sign for the Chauhan dynasty, and astrologers predicted that this boy would grow up to be a great ruler and rule over a large part of the earth. Keeping this prediction in mind, the child was named Prithviraj. Even before the birth of Prithviraj, there had been two kings named Prithviraj in this dynasty, so he was actually Prithviraj III. He was also known as Rai Pithora. Prithviraj's childhood was not like that of an ordinary prince. It is said that the signs of greatness are visible in childhood itself. Just like that, his extraordinary talent started showing from childhood. Prithviraj Chauhan had deep knowledge of many languages and was proficient in subjects like history, mathematics, medicine, military science, and philosophy. His most special skill was shooting sound-guided arrows. In this, he could hit the target just by hearing the sound with his eyes closed. He was so skilled in archery that even great warriors could not compete with him. Not only in archery, but he was also an expert in sword and spear fighting. An example of his strength and fearlessness is found in an incident from his youth. It is said that once in his youth, he went hunting in the forest with his friends. During this, a ferocious lion attacked them. Seeing the lion, his companions panicked and retreated. But the young Prithviraj stood there fearlessly. He didn't even have any weapons. As soon as the lion pounced on him, Prithviraj grabbed its neck with lightning speed and pulled its jaw from both sides with all his strength. The lion could not stand against his immense strength. Its jaw broke and the lion died right there. This incident was not just about a hunt, but was proof that Prithviraj Chauhan was fearless, powerful and clever from childhood. But the test of fate was to come soon. When he was only 11 years old, his father passed away. Suddenly, the responsibility of the entire state fell on the shoulders of the young Prithviraj, and as the successor of Someshwar Chauhan, he had to take over the throne of Ajmer. This was a very delicate time because, taking advantage of his young age, his own feudatories and chieftains started rebelling and tried to grab parts of the kingdom. In this hour of crisis, his mother, Queen Karpuri Devi, took over the reins of power. As a regent, she stabilized the state with the help of trustworthy ministers like Kadamba Vasa. However, according to the Hamira Mahakavya, it is believed that Prithviraj Chauhan's father, Someshwar Chauhan, did not die at that time, but had himself handed over the throne to his son Prithviraj and went to the forests after taking sannyas. After this, under the supervision of his mother, Queen Karpuri Devi, the young Prithviraj learned the nuances of governance. He soon became so proficient in governance that the people of the court and the public of the state could not stop praising him. But a state cannot be run sitting in a mother's lap. Therefore, at an age when children are busy playing, he took the burden of the entire state on his shoulders. In the year 1180, at the age of just 14, he took complete control of power and started ruling as an independent ruler. From here began the journey of this brave warrior, whose name was later to echo from the throne of Delhi to the battlefield of Tarain. When Prithviraj took power, it became clear that the biggest challenge before him was not external invaders but his own people. His own relatives were rebelling, taking advantage of his young age and trying to grab parts of the state. This incident shows how weak and unstable the feudal system of India was in the 12th century. When there was no strong central ruler, the loyalty of local chieftains shifted towards their personal interests instead of the state. About 3 years after his coronation, the young Prithviraj Chauhan came out of the protection of his mother, Queen Karpuri Devi, and started making his mark as a powerful emperor. His first and most important task was to crush Nagarjuna's rebellion. Nagarjuna was the son of Prithviraj's uncle Vigraharaja IV. Taking advantage of Prithviraj's young age, he staked his claim to the throne and seized the fort of Gudpura, which is today known as Gurugram. This was not just a rebellion but a direct struggle for power within the Chauhan dynasty. Prithviraj Chauhan surrounded Gudpura with a large army of infantry, cavalry, camels and elephants, and after defeating Nagarjuna in battle, took back control of the fort and its surrounding area. According to the Prithviraj Vijaya epic, he captured many of Nagarjuna's soldiers, cut off their heads and hung them on the walls of the Ajmer fort. Although Nagarjuna managed to escape, this victory was a stern warning to those who challenged Prithviraj's authority that even though the king was young, challenging his authority would be suicidal. After this success, Prithviraj not only protected his state but also started expanding a great empire. After this, in 1182, Prithviraj Chauhan ended the rebellion of the Bhadanakas, whose territory extended to present-day Bhiwani, Rewari in Haryana and Alwar in Rajasthan. This victory against the Bhadanakas was also important for him because the territory of the Bhadanakas lay on the way to Delhi. Since Delhi was conquered by Prithviraj Chauhan's uncle Vigraharaja IV between approximately 1150 and 1164, therefore when Prithviraj Chauhan took the throne, Delhi was already a part of his empire. Thus Delhilara Swailaja Thale lay on the way to Delhi. Since Delhi was Gaprakanda ka Prithviraj's uncle Vigraharaja IV between approximately 1150 and 1164. Therefore, when Prithviraj took the throne, Delhi was already a part of Ajmer. Delhi was a very big trade and give Fakr's uncle Grelamatrate's victory Tricheskule Gildi ben Tapado. Vamebi Hanke Aipatsuhaya Tadebla Paramnakir. Closilis his position northern Anthem Telzange considerate Kilamabil Pritradura Unchelain Bekilum Prith Importanza ugly correct in there. On this Nakabarasonga Trishparasi Utna Bathilampi Binsikazis between Bazaluk Paravides in Lilangalta Kalosonki Ojladari Mosminosong Ninarmaya Zabik Distolin Hajabania Sanisanakin Nabaya in Huldan Pritsa Dazas in a Suprimana Tansbardus into reputation far and Salalas Jainkin Ningwa Pitali Gadar Ines Nukate Manofasam Jathe fought in Mahovakude liberated two lands Chandar Jila Bangalal's Paramardi Deva. The reason for this was that Chandala soldiers had attacked some injured and tired soldiers of Prithviraj's army because they had stirred their eyes without division. Nanbasai Indon Besibe Bhatingha these Parapadea Orahalo Bikengonde Jailik and the extraordinary Prode Arana Labilomnika Slo Gilte Arika Hanglaide with this lensar Kalagdai Mohinjol de Mamaraya Barje Ache Thus Jale His low unarrayed Mation Polabinans Kardek Bhajal Komisli Anhan Asparel Lier Chauhan Pumge Razarming is corn Akanala Irislazahat Pulasir Whoever came in front of Allah at that time was killed. But in the end, the Chandalas were defeated in this war. Prithviraj conquered Mahoba and Paramardi Deva had to flee. This was a big victory for the expansion of Prithviraj's empire. However, this victory did not come easily. Prithviraj also suffered heavy losses in this war, and many brave soldiers of his army were killed. During this time, Prithviraj's political enmity with another powerful dynasty came out in the open. This enmity was with the Ghadawala king Jaichand of Kannauj. Both kings wanted to expand their respective empires far and wide, so there was a rivalry between them. However, it is also believed that Jaichand considered Delhi's throne as his right, because Delhi was once ruled by Jaichand's maternal grandfather Anangpal Tomar, which was snatched by the Chauhans. Because of this, enmity had been going on between the two dynasties over power and supremacy for many years. Jaichand had even helped the Chandela king against Prithviraj Chauhan in the Battle of Mahoba. According to Prithviraj Raso, this clash became even more personal when Jaichand's daughter Sanyogita entered the story. It is said that Sanyogita fell in love with Prithviraj after hearing stories of his bravery and valor, and had made up her mind that she would marry only him. When this news reached Jaichand, he was furious. He had an old enmity with Prithviraj and could never accept this relationship. Jaichand saw his daughter's love as an insult to himself and his state. To avenge this insult, Jaichand played a trick and organized a grand Swayamvara. Swayamvara was a practice in ancient India in which many suitors gathered in an assembly for a marriageable princess, and the princess chose one of them of her own choice. Jaichand invited all the prominent kings and princes of India, but deliberately did not invite his biggest enemy, Prithviraj. Not only this, to insult Prithviraj even more, Jaichand got a statue of him made and placed it at the main gate of the court in place of a doorkeeper. Somehow, Prithviraj Chauhan gets wind of this. When the day of the Swayamvara came, all the kings took their seats, but Sanyogita did not choose anyone. Ignoring all the kings, Sanyogita went straight to Prithviraj's statue and put the garland around the neck of that statue. At that very moment, Prithviraj, who was secretly present there with some of his soldiers, came forward, put Sanyogita on his horse in front of everyone's eyes, and left Kannauj for Delhi. On the way, Jaichand's army pursued them, but Prithviraj succeeded in taking Sanyogita safely to Delhi and married her. Although this love story of Sanyogita and Prithviraj is found only in Prithviraj Raso, and many historians consider this incident to be fictional, but one thing is certain: the relations between Prithviraj and Jaichand were never good. This clash was so deep that even when the threat of foreign invaders was looming over India, these two kings were not ready to support each other. Apart from this, after winning the Battle of Mahoba, Prithviraj had made a powerful neighbor his permanent enemy. The result of this was that, due to this mutual rivalry, a powerful alliance could never be formed that could prevent foreign powers from stepping onto Indian soil. And this very rivalry was going to change the direction of Indian history forever in the future. While Emperor Prithviraj Chauhan was expanding his empire, on the other hand, a new and dangerous enemy was emerging in the west. This enemy was the ambitious and ruthless invader Muiz al-Din Muhammad ibn Sam, known in India as Muhammad Ghori. Muhammad Ghori was the ruler of the Ghurid dynasty, whose empire extended to present-day Afghanistan. His aim was not just to plunder India, but he wanted to establish his permanent empire. With this desire, Ghori launched a major attack on the kingdom of the Chalukya ruler Bhima II of Gujarat in 1178. But here, he had to face a powerful resistance led by Bhima II's mother, Queen Naiki Devi. She defeated Ghori's army so badly that he fled from the battlefield to save his life. This was a big defeat for Ghori, which forced him to change his strategy. He realized that entering India through the southern route was extremely difficult. Therefore, he changed his path and focused on the north. This policy of his worked, and he soon captured Sindh, Peshawar, and Sialkot, and in 1186 defeated the ruler of Lahore, Khusrau Shah Malik, and seized it too. After these continuous victories, Ghori was not going to stop. Now his next target was the Chauhan Empire. In 1191, he suddenly attacked and captured the fort of Tabarhind, that is present-day Bathinda, and handed it over to his general Ziauddin and 1,200 cavalrymen. This was a step that brought two powerful empires directly on a collision course. Muhammad Ghori's capture of Bathinda was a direct challenge to Prithviraj, which he could not ignore. In response to this, Prithviraj prepared a huge army and marched towards Ghori. In 1191, the armies of Prithviraj Chauhan and Muhammad Ghori came face to face in the battlefield of Tarain in Haryana. In this war, both armies had their own strengths. Ghori's army had horse archers who were known for their speed, while Prithviraj Chauhan's army was mainly infantry. But they had the power of elephants, and their army was highly skilled in close combat. At the beginning of the war, Muhammad Ghori's army used its greatest strength. His horse archers started raining arrows on Prithviraj Chauhan's infantry from a distance. This was a strategy in which they would attack and quickly retreat to avoid direct combat. In contrast, Rajput warriors believed in close combat, where they could face the enemy with their swords and spears. Prithviraj Chauhan's army immediately came in front of the enemy and started defeating them by launching a strong and direct attack. Prithviraj's sudden attack surprised Ghori's army. Apart from this, the giant elephants of Prithviraj Chauhan's army also wreaked havoc on the enemy's army and broke their lines, causing a stampede in the rival camp. The fierce close combat of the Rajput soldiers and the strength of the elephants completely broke the morale of Ghori's soldiers, and they started fleeing the field. In an attempt to rally his soldiers in the middle of the war, Muhammad Ghori himself entered the field. He faced Govind Rai, the commander of the Rajput army and governor of Delhi. Ghori attacked him with a spear, but Govind Rai blocked Ghori's spear and counter-attacked, injuring Ghori. Ghori fell down almost unconscious. Somehow, one of his soldiers took him out of the battlefield and saved his life. Seeing their commander retreat, the morale of Ghori's army was completely broken, and the remaining soldiers also fled the field. Prithviraj's army recaptured the Tabarhind fort. But after this victory, Prithviraj made a strategic mistake, the price of which he and the whole of India had to pay in the future. He did not pursue the fleeing enemy and spared Muhammad Ghori's life. It is believed that Emperor Prithviraj Chauhan defeated Muhammad Ghori not just in this one war, but 16 to 17 times, and let him go every time. This was a symbol of the war ethics and generosity of the Rajputs. They did not attack a fleeing enemy. Modern historians call this the Prithviraj syndrome, where the habit of showing mercy gives the enemy a chance to become powerful again. But this very generosity was later to prove fatal. After facing repeated defeats from Prithviraj Chauhan, Muhammad Ghori returned to Ghazni, humiliated. There, he publicly humiliated those captains and commanders of his force who had shown cowardice in the war. Ghori swore that until he avenged his defeat, he would stay away from his luxurious life. With this resolve, he reorganized his army. This time, he laid more and more emphasis on discipline, mobility, and deception. After making full preparations, in 1192, he again captured Bathinda, which had been recaptured by the Chauhans just a month ago. Hearing this news, Prithviraj Chauhan was filled with anger. He prepared an army and marched towards Tarain once again to face Ghori. But this time, his army was weaker than before because many of his generals had been busy in different campaigns for the past few months. Once again, both armies were face to face in the battlefield of Tarain. Prithviraj sent a message that if Ghori returned without a fight, he would be allowed to go. Otherwise, this time, he would be crushed into the dust. Ghori laid a trap here, and playing a trick, he pretended to accept the condition and said that he would make this decision after consulting his brother. Actually, during this time, Ghori was preparing his army and keeping an eye on the Chauhan army. This deception misled Prithviraj, and his army became complacent and lost its alertness. This proved to be their biggest mistake. Ghori knew that the Rajputs were extremely powerful in close combat, so he divided his army into small units and instructed them to attack them from a distance and retreat as soon as the Rajput army counter-attacked. Ghori's trick worked. As soon as his army attacked the Rajputs from a distance, Prithviraj Chauhan's army started pursuing the enemy. But this was a trap. Due to continuous pursuit, the elephants, horses, and infantry of the Rajput army got tired. They did not get to rest all night. The next morning, when the Rajput army was busy with its daily routines and was disorganized, Ghori's army launched a sudden decisive attack on them. The Rajput army could not stand against this treachery and strategic cleverness. Emperor Prithviraj Chauhan was defeated and taken prisoner. Thus, the Second Battle of Tarain ended with Ghori's decisive victory. This defeat was not due to a lack of bravery on the part of Prithviraj Chauhan, but due to his strategic lapse and underestimating the enemy. His practice of sparing even a fleeing enemy proved ineffective against a ruthless invader like Ghori, whose sole aim was to win by any means. This defeat paved the way for the establishment of Muslim rule in India and changed the direction of Indian history forever. It is believed that King Jai Chand of Kannauj secretly supported Muhammad Ghori in this war. This is the reason why, in later folklore, the name Jai Chand became synonymous with a traitor. However, many historians consider this story to be false. According to them, even if Jai Chand did not support Prithviraj, he was not with Ghori either. However, later on, Muhammad Ghori also defeated Jai Chand and killed him. How Emperor Prithviraj Chauhan met his end after the defeat in the Second Battle of Tarain is still a subject of debate among historians. There are many contradictory views on this subject. Some historical sources believe that Prithviraj attained martyrdom on the battlefield itself, while according to some accounts, he was taken to Ajmer as a prisoner, where Muhammad Ghori tried to reinstate him as a subordinate ruler. But later, he was killed on charges of conspiracy. Apart from this, the most popular story about Prithviraj's death is found in the epic Prithviraj Raso. According to this story, after the defeat in the Battle of Tarain, Ghori took Prithviraj to Ghazni as a prisoner. There, he tortured him a lot. But still, when Emperor Prithviraj Chauhan's eyes did not lower before Ghori, Muhammad Ghori ordered that Prithviraj Chauhan's eyes be gouged out. His order was carried out, and the unarmed Prithviraj Chauhan, bound in handcuffs and chains, was blinded by piercing hot iron rods into his eyes. Emperor Prithviraj was ready to sacrifice his eyes, but was not ready to lower them. During this time, Prithviraj's court poet Chand Bardai also somehow reached Ghazni. He saw that Ghori was planning to humiliate and kill Prithviraj in front of the whole city. Chand Bardai played a trick and said to Ghori, "Sultan, the one you are going to execute is no ordinary king, but Emperor Prithviraj Chauhan, who has defeated you on the battlefield dozens of times." Ghori mocked Prithviraj Chauhan, saying that this blind man is of no use now. On this, Chand Bardai told Muhammad Ghori that you do not know, our emperor is an expert in the art of shooting sound-guided arrows. He can hit the target just by hearing the sound. Ghori mocked Prithviraj Chauhan on this too, and said that if that is the case, the whole city will watch this spectacle. After this, one day an assembly was organized, and a huge crowd gathered. Prithviraj's chains were removed, and a bow and arrow were handed to him. Ghori had put a condition before Chand Bardai that if Prithviraj could not shoot the sound-guided arrow, he would also be beheaded. Chand Bardai smiled and replied that such a situation would not arise. After this, the feat begins, and Chand Bardai recites a couplet. 4 measures, 24 yards, 8 fingers, breadth. Above sits the Sultan, do not miss Chauhan. From this couplet, Prithviraj got an accurate estimate of Ghori's exact position, who was sitting on a high seat. He aimed his arrow on his bow, and the arrow pierced straight into Ghori's chest, and he died right there. After this, as soon as Ghori's soldiers rushed to kill Chand Bardai and Prithviraj, they stabbed each other with daggers to end their lives, so that even in death, their names would be written, not their enemies. This story has been told for generations as a symbol of bravery and revenge, but historically it is not considered correct. Even the credibility of Prithviraj Raso is highly questioned, and it is believed that Prithviraj Raso was written in the 16th century, about 400 years after Prithviraj Chauhan's time. Apart from this, according to historical evidence, Muhammad Ghori was killed in the year 1206, while Prithviraj died in 1192 itself. For this reason, many historians consider this story of Prithviraj Chauhan's end to be fictional. After Prithviraj's death, his empire, which included Ajmer, Delhi, and parts of Rajasthan, came under the control of Ghori's army. For this reason, many historians consider this story of Prithviraj Chauhan's end to be fictional. After Prithviraj's death, his empire, which included Ajmer, Delhi, and parts of Rajasthan, came under the control of Ghori's army. Delhi came under the control of Muhammad Ghori's general Qutbuddin Aibak, after whom the Qutub Minar still stands in Delhi today. Apart from this, in Ajmer, Ghori made Prithviraj's minor son Govindaraja IV a puppet ruler, who paid tax to Ghori. Prithviraj's brother Hariraja did not accept this and removed Govinda Raja IV to take control of Ajmer. This rebellion increased instability in the region, taking advantage of which Muhammad Ghori's general Qutbuddin Aibak attacked Ajmer and defeated Hariraja. This completed the remaining ruin, and Ajmer, which was once the pride of the Rajputs, now became a part of the Delhi Sultanate. Other parts of the empire, like Mahoba, were divided among local dynasties or conquered by Muhammad Ghori. Thus, after the death of Prithviraj Chauhan, Muslim invasion in India increased significantly, laying the foundation of Muslim rule that lasted for centuries. But the stories of Emperor Prithviraj Chauhan's bravery, courage and valor became immortal in history.